give it a few minutes. I think it's saying that we're live, isn't it?
We are live.
Let's give it a few minutes and get it squared away here. How the heck are you doing, sir?
Doing well, doing well. Good evening. Happy Wednesday to you and to all.
Yes, sir. Yeah, happy evening, everyone. The family members are all out there. Got a great crowd out there. We appreciate y'all so much for tuning in with us this evening. Anything special or exciting happened since our last chat? Well, I know you had one last night, but anything exciting, I guess, happened for you today?
Actually, so several people have been wanting comparisons of various sorts to the X Compact, and I've already promised a deep dive into the X Compact versus the X Carry. Now, some people were asking for an if I could only have one. I'm actually not going to do that, and the reason is I can't decide between them. I legitimately can't. I like them both. I like them both for slightly different reasons, but they're essentially the same gun. So to me, it's not quite as interesting. That's like doing the Shield against the Shield 4-inch. To me, there's not enough of a difference there to justify it, but I'll still do a deep dive of some sort or another. However, today I decided, because enough people have said over and over again, you gotta take the plunge. I decided to buy the M&P 2.0C 3.6 inch, and that'll be a good comparison against this. I think they are very similar in a lot of ways, so that'll be an interesting comparison, I think.
Okay, so you got the 3.6 versus the 4.0.
Well, actually, it'll be the 3.6 versus. This is relatively close to 3.6. I think.
Oh, I know. No, I was joking with, since you already have the 2.0 compact.
Yeah, and well, it's funny. It's funny how many people talk about the 3.6, and they must be onto something, because I will tell you, at least locally, they're very scarce, and those that have them, they're actually really pricey. We talked about this a little bit last night, and you and I did before. I found them for like $550 to $570. Too much money for that gun. So found it online, and I do not like buying online. I prefer to buy at Centerfire or Frontier or whatever. But online it was like a little over $380 plus the $8 for shipping on Grab-A-Gun. I couldn't pass that up, and they've already given me the shipping tracking number and everything. So I imagine it'll be here by probably beginning of the week next week. So I can deal with that.
Yeah, no, it's a smoking deal. I mean, they run, and I'm sure you get them too since you're signed up now. But I mean, get some smoking daily deals. I'm just like, wow, they have really, really good deals.
Yeah, you should never pay attention to those emails, because not everyone is something really cool, but about every third one, there's something very enticing on there. So I totally agree. And Pistol Pete is saying, now you need another Apex trigger. Well, here's the thing. This gives me the excuse, kind of like the 4-inch, to not touch the trigger at all, because a lot of people give me trouble for the triggers, even when I am very clear in if I could only have ones. In fact, I get it a lot with the Shield against the Glock 43. And if you guys recall, both of those had aftermarket triggers and aftermarket sights. So to me, it was a level playing field. But a lot of people were just, this video sucks because the triggers aren't the same and all that kind of stuff. And to a degree, I appreciate that. They're purists. They're diehards. They want to see the full Monty as is. I get that. I truly do. However, for me, you guys know I mod guns from time to time, and I cannot always switch everything back out to do a video. It's just not, it doesn't always make sense to do. So hopefully I'll be able to make use of this a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as trigger adjustments and stuff like that, I mean, I say the individual do what they want. If they prefer a stock trigger, an aftermarket trigger, whatever, whatever makes you shoot better, whatever you personally feel comfortable with, by all means do it. I really like aftermarket triggers, and there's some great stock triggers too. It just depends on your setup.
I think you're absolutely right. Now, Texas Teacher is asking if I put an Apex trigger in the compact. No, I'm actually going to leave them stock. I'm just going to run both the carry and the compact stock for now. This compact trigger, I have to say, is very good. Now it's thumpy. I mean, P320s have a thud. The brakes are I don't think they're crisp at all. However, it's still a good, manageable brake. I just haven't found a reason to change it. I like the Apex 320 triggers, but I'm just going to leave it stock.
Yeah, and Bald is saying stop buying guns with shitty triggers. However, on his some of his guns, I've seen him do polishing and trigger jobs and homemade stuff. So he gets it fixed up. So.
But that's part of the fun of it, though. And Bald, I appreciate where you're coming from. And if I was not doing this, I'd be 110% with you. I would be standing right beside you saying the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But doing this and doing the videos and everything, I kind of find it interesting to experience these different triggers. And when I find triggers that I consider sort of abominations or whatever, at least for my taste, it's interesting to experience,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and and Coda Boy's even bringing it up, and other people have too. They're like, you need to shoot a gun with a stock trigger. I've been there, done that, many, many times. I mean, I only used to run stock triggers, and then, way back in the day, and then as triggers got better and stuff like that, I just say, it's America. Do what you want. I'm not, I shouldn't judge anyone from what they want to do. If you want to run a stock or an aftermarket trigger, so be it. Do it.
Right. Looks like we're getting hit with a lot of questions right up front.
Right.
I want to Dexter's got a good one. If you see that, he called you out on that one.
Let's see here. What's he calling me out on? I guess I missed it.
He was asking if we've seen the 380 Easy Performance Center.
Yes, I have. And I think it's a really good looking gun. And I know people will say, oh, 380s are worthless. Some people say that. I say, for the Easy, if you've ever played with an Easy, literally, I held it in my hand and I can take one finger and move the slide. It's so easy to manipulate. So if you have arthritis or you have hand pain, or, you might be an elderly person or a younger person, I think that gun definitely has a niche. Now, granted, it's a, 380, it's a shorter 9mm, but it has a better size than those little tiny 380s, they're you can get two fingers on. And it does feel pretty comfortable in the hand. And I say shoot it, if that's what you like and you could shoot quicker. And I'm assuming it doesn't have as much recoil as a smaller little mouse gun. And I know you did a review on it and I watched it. I say get it. On 380s, I really won't run. And I've talked about this before. I prefer full metal jacket ammo in a 380, just in case somebody's wearing a thicker coat or something like that. Of course, if it, a 380 full metal jacket's going to penetrate. So that's what I would prefer in it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would feel the same way, but yeah, the performance, not the performance center. Sorry, I was reading another comment, but the performance center EZ rather. I don't know that I don't necessarily care about the performance center ones unless the trigger is a little bit better, perhaps. But some of the decor and everything, and you guys know I love modding guns, but in that particular platform, it's not as inspiring to me. But I feel the same way. I like 380s. I think they're fine. That gun is exceptionally easy to operate and handle, and so for somebody who has issues to one degree or another, or they're young or whatever it is, I think that is a good viable option for them.
Mm-hmm. And when we've talked about this before too, with 22s, people will be like, oh, you shouldn't use a 22 for self-defense, and if that's what you have, and if that's what you feel comfortable with, use it, because, and I'm sure we can all agree on this, a 22 is like shooting a BB gun. You've got 10 rounds. You could probably pop 10 rounds in somebody's eyeball versus spraying and praying, with a 9mm with much more recoil. If it's not set up for that particular person, you're going to have some really nice shots with a 22, or potentially even a 380, a larger 380, where you might not over, a smaller 9mm. It could be more accurate for those other two guns.
Yeah.
So all about target placement. We know that.
Absolutely. Do you mind if we go backwards a little bit to hit a question that came up? It was right before the chat started. Killer Coiler was asking a question, said, needs a recommendation for a quality slim firearm for IWB carry that won't print easily. And then he did add to that a little bit, needs something to conceal that won't be noticeable for deep cover, but still easily accessible, so no ankle carry.
Okay. All right. What do you think about that?
I think there are a lot of good options. I would tend to gravitate towards single stack firearms for that purpose because they're thin. Oftentimes they have small grips, not like the Shield 4-inch unless you take this off, and then you've got a pretty small grip there. You get the flat magazine, something like that. Shields, Glock 43, the original one, not the 43X so much. Again, if you're really concerned about printing, the Walther PPS, you could even go with something like a SIG 938 or 238. I don't know if you have a preference about caliber or not, but there are a lot of options. I'm even getting smaller, like an LCP2 or something like that. I'm not as big of a fan of that particular gun. However, as far as concealment goes, things like that are incredibly concealable.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of reiterate a few of those. Like the 43, the Shield. When you start getting really small, depending on how you're going to conceal, if you're going to pocket carry or if you're going to use the small, like inside the waistband, and I think that's what he said, and this is the way I look at it. This is just my personal preference. Others may vary, but when you get into like a small 938 or even, and we've talked about this before, like a little SIG P365, it is a very small pistol. And if you have larger hands or, whatever, that thing might sink way down in there, even if you like adjust the height up. In a panic situation, you might go to grab that gun and you might miss it because it's just so small. Where if you had a Shield or maybe something a tad bigger, and of course a single stack, you could grab it, present it, you can do your business quicker. But I think, being able to grab it is a big thing. And a lot of people don't think about, they're like, oh, it's just tiny, I can really hide it or I can really conceal it. Well, you want to be able to draw that pistol when you need to. And I wouldn't want to miss that draw.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And I'm a fan of finding the right thing that is functionally going to work for you. Yeah. So I would agree. I mean, I want to be able to really get in and grab the gun proficiently and get it out. So something like a Shield or whatever, that would be the right thing for me. But again, different strokes for different folks. And if I had to be even more discreet than that, then I would potentially look at some other alternatives as well. And it might be something like the LCP2 or something. I mean, again, those are really small guns, and you want to make sure you can shoot them adequately. But those might be some good options for you.
Yeah, and it really goes down to, like we've talked about before too, with like the correct holster, and of course the correct belt. But if you get a tuckable clip to where you can tuck your shirt behind the clip, so all you have exposed is a little clip on a belt, nobody's going to see it. Now, if you have multiple clips, they could see that. But I think with tucking the shirt, having a really good clip on your holster, like the discreet carry clips, I run a lot of those and really like them, and I can tuck a shirt in and nobody even knows the gun's there. So I just, there's a lot of variables there, and it depends on what you personally want. For us to tell you this is what you should get, that's, I would never do that because everybody's so different.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and, and I've kind of saw it, some other things, people bringing up revolvers. If a revolver works for you and it's not too fat, some of those are definitely, thicker than a single stack. So, but if a revolver works for you, use a revolver.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Terry Grossman has a very interesting question. He has muscular dystrophy and can't pull the double action trigger. Any suggestions?
Well, I mean, the most obvious to me would be find triggers that you can pull. And that probably sounds like a not very heartfelt answer, but I mean, that's what I would do. I would try and find triggers that I could adequately manipulate. I mean, I don't know. That's one thing that I mean, you might talk to a doctor about and see what they recommend for something like that, or going to the range and going and dry firing a bunch of different firearms and finding something that again functions over and over again for you comfortably and all of that. I mean, again, I don't know that that's the best answer, but that's what comes to mind for me.
Yeah, and in that kind of situation, if and it's some double actions, of course, you can get them lighter and stuff like that, but some of those are going to be kind of around the same poundage. So you might even consider going with a single action and a side safety, even like a grip safety, like a 1911 type. If you can actuate those, and that way you'll just have a very easy trigger pull, and you'll have a couple of safeties, for the grip safety and the flip safety. If you're able to actuate those with your fingers and hands, or a standard striker fire pistol. That way you're going to get a constant trigger pull every time. And, you might not want to be around the double action game. If that's not working for you, I would definitely seek other pistols.
Yeah.
Or maybe even the easy. I mean, that's what Steven's saying too. I mean, it very well might work out for you.
Yep, that's very true. Now, I mean, you could go ultralight. Now, I don't know if it's for carry or something like that, but if it's just for enjoyment, if it's just for fun, enjoyment, you might look into things like Canics. They have very easy triggers, very nice triggers. I actually responded on a comment earlier tonight on the channel, and somebody was talking about various triggers and like VP9 and PPQ, both good triggers for sure. And I just said, hey, if you ever get a chance, try a Canic, like an Elite Combat or something. I mean, they are, and I know not everybody's a fan of them, but they have phenomenal triggers.
Yeah, I just say, go to a gun store and just try multiple ones to see what maybe feels good to you, and then go to a range and rent a few of those that you tried in the gun store that, kind of took your fancy as far as grip and triggers and things like that, and then actually go to the gun range, rent them and shoot them, and see which one works the best for you, which one you group the best. I mean, that, really shooting them and trying them brings a lot into play, especially if you're trying a completely different platform. So,
Right. Yeah. And Dennis Jones was saying, have you tried striker fired guns? They would be easier. For the PO7, you probably would need to put some money in it, Cajunize it or something. You might not be able to do that. So yeah, I mean, I'd look into striker fired guns, just that consistent trigger. So, it's going to be the same pull every single time, and you find the right one that works for you. I mean, I would think that would work pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I did have a couple of questions. And this kind of goes to the family out there too, and of course yourself. In your opinion, okay, and I know I'm not going to get too political on this, but in your opinion, should a convicted felon that's in jail be allowed to vote?
I would say no.
Okay. Do you have a reasoning or just no?
If they're in jail, they've lost a lot of rights, and I think voting being a fundamental right like that, no, I don't think they should.
Okay. My opinion is, if you're a convicted felon, proven guilty, and you're in jail, I don't think you should be able to vote either. Because when you've been taken and put in prison, okay, you've been taken out of the mix, you're not paying Social Security, you're not paying into the system, you're living on the system, or being incarcerated on the system, you should lose those rights. I kind of look at it, and not being, not trying to put this in a bad way, but until you're, you've done your time, you've been a good guy, you've been released, your probation officer, you've checked in, done everything right, and then you're released into society and you've proven to be a bad guy and served your term and done everything, then you can start talking about reestablishing the rights. And of course, depending on what you're put in for, if it's murder or something like that, and you're proven, that's a whole different ballgame. But, just people in prison and then going in there and saying, oh, here's your voter card. I mean, really? That's like just driving into Mexico and going, hey guys, can y'all just vote real quick? I mean, even though they're American citizens, you've done a bad thing. So I don't think you should be brought into the mix.
Yep, I totally agree.
Yeah. So that is, yeah, exactly. See, Cam says losing rights is a form of a penalty. Correct. I mean,
you should have seen how fast the nose came. Everybody seems to be pretty much on the same page on this one. So well done, everybody.
Yeah, and then Hurt, is saying the same thing. Once you get out of prison, you should have your rights granted back. If you aren't safe, you should. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it. If you've proven and done your time, and you've been accepted back out there, then you can talk about having some things reinstated.
Right.
Texas teacher, just vote for Bernie already, Big Johnson now. And we had a little topic, or did you have anything else that you wanted to bring up this evening?
No, I'm good. I've been collecting some questions, so we'll save that for a little later.
Good. Another kind of question, and we don't have to take a super deep dive in it. Yeah, and Keith Gregory saying case by case. Yeah, I agree with that. another thing that, has kind of been coming up, and I've seen it, on other chats, you know, read about some things, and maybe y'all have too, but, as far as YouTube and, the YouTube shills and the YouTube sellouts and all this other stuff, do you really have an opinion on any of this or anything that, what is your opinion on classification of a YouTube shill?
Well, I think it goes a little deeper than that. And we talked a little bit earlier before the chat about this, and one of these things stemmed from, you guys know I've done some TAC Pack unboxings, and I did an Olight video not too long ago, and there were a couple of interesting comments on the Olight one, although not many. Most everybody's kind of on board with Olight. Their marketing campaign is brilliant, I have to say. They flood the market with marketing and that sort of thing, and to the better or the worse, who knows? But a couple of people were saying, "Hey, we get it, TAC Pack. It's time to stop." And I love that feedback. That feedback is awesome, and that tells me that people that I care about, all of you guys, that people are starting to say, "Hey, it's kind of time." And so I'm good with that. And I think it is time, but I sort of had to step back a little bit and think about this a little bit more, in terms of, by the way, West Coast Chicano. That's very nice. Let's read this real quick. You want to read that out loud?
Sure. The American Taliban is being released next month. I don't think terrorists should be voting.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that.
Totally agree. So back to this. But in terms of, because some people also said tired of YouTube channels advertising products and everything. And I get that to a degree, because sometimes it really does feel like an advertisement. With my channel, it probably feels like an advertisement sometimes, because I'm generally pretty positive about things. I try and find things I like in products. However, I'm not afraid to tell you if the thing sucks or it doesn't work. I'm going to try and present it nicely, but I'm still going to tell you if it works or not. But I also thought about, we have to be very careful, because most Pro 2A companies, companies that are trying to be a part of our very community, they don't have very many places to get exposure. They can't be on TV, regular TV, advertising their products a lot of the time. They can't be in magazines. A lot of times it's prohibitive for them to be able to do that. And print medium is dying anyways. I wouldn't want to be in it if I was in a company. So they lean to Instagram, they lean to Facebook, and they lean to YouTube and that sort of thing. And I'm a firm believer in, if a company is putting out a good quality product and they're a Pro 2A company, I have no problem showing everybody that on the channel. It is, I never sit there and say, you should buy it. I might say I recommend it because it's worked well for me, but it's totally up to other people to decide if it's something they're into, if it's something they're interested in, if they're willing to spend the money on it, whatever the money is, whether it's $20 or $2,000, whatever it is. But I think it's a great avenue to bring awareness to good products. Now, again, we have to be very careful. If the thing sucks, we have to be comfortable with saying that. And we have to be comfortable with the companies that, we partner with, saying, hey, look, if your product sucks, I'm going to tell people that, because I care more that people get the real information so they don't spend their money on something that's going to fall apart, because it makes me look bad, as well as the company. But I think there's a fine line, I guess, to walk with that. And as long as you're honest and you're truthful about the product and you're upfront about it as well, I think it's perfectly fine. Now, spreading things out a little bit, so it's not every other day you've got a new product, because that gets really old, and it's an advertisement channel, and that's all it is. That's too much. But finding things that you're interested in, I mean, like this HoloSun. Now, I bought it, but I'm going to do a review on it because I'm interested in it and I want to know if it's worked. So far, thankfully, it has. But I love that stuff, and maybe it'll bring some awareness to HoloSun. Hopefully, good. but that's part of it. That's how we find out about all of this stuff. If you guys think back to a lot of the products gun related that you've bought over the past 5 years, let's say, I bet I would challenge you guys. I bet a lot of those products you heard of because some YouTube channel you like was talking about them. They were saying, hey, there's this thing. I like it so far, seems pretty good. It might pique your curiosity and go, I'd like to check that out. That's exactly how I heard of the HoloSun. I didn't see it on TV. I didn't see it in a magazine or anything like that. Some channel was showing it off, and I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was just an opinion. I don't remember who it was, but somebody was showing it. I was like, I'd like to give that a try, and it fits on an RMR spot. Why not give it a try? And so I think that's important to keep that awareness out there. But again, it's a fine line to walk.
Yeah. And I agree with, everything that you've said. I look at it this way, and this is just what I do. If you follow me on Instagram or follow us on Instagram, I might put up a post and said, hey, this was sent in for testing and evaluation. And then I start testing it. I don't just open up a box and go, oh my gosh, it's the first, and I don't have any experience with it. I don't just open up a box and go, oh my gosh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Everybody should buy it. No, I don't do that. I like to test it, and these are all my opinions. And I think that everyone on YouTube, it's an opinion. It doesn't mean that it's the best in the world for every single person out there. That means it's just working for you. And like when I do a problem or do a product, like I did the X-Tech +2 shield base plates, and I actually put 200. So far, I've got 225 rounds through them. But the day that I did the testing, and it's on video, I did 200 rounds just for those. And there were 2 mags, and never had an issue with them. And I'm still testing them. I mean, I'm still, giving updates on them. And, if I see anything wrong with them, I'm going to let you know. And I actually have products that are sent into the channel to test, and I test them, and I'm like, I mean, it's not even going to make it to video. And actually some of them, and you've probably had this too, some people have reached out to me and said, oh, hey, will you test this product? And I'll look at the product, and I'm just like, no, that is not even in line with what I want. I kind of look at it, would I carry it? Would I potentially trust it? And if it's nothing that I would carry, I'm not even going to do a video on it or even take the product in. So that's kind of how I do it. I've never been paid for a review. I never will be paid for a review. And I just give honest feedback. I mean, I'm just a normal guy. I'm just like everyone out there. And products that I see, even on YouTube, they pique my interest. But just because Joe Blow says it's spectacular, I might get one and try it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to just, oh my gosh, yeah, he says it's great, so I'm going to go for it. I just kind of take that with a grain of salt until I do my own testing and see if it's going to have my expectations. I mean, but that's just the way I do it. I don't think you're a shill because you get a product and you test it. Now, if every product you do, people are just paying you for a positive review, that's a whole different ballgame. I mean,
that changes the game 100%. If you've committed to saying certain types of things, whether you've done the review or not, in other words, whether you've tested it or not, but if you've committed to saying certain things, and now I'm not talking about facts. If they give you a fact sheet about, hey, this is 400 lumens, it's waterproof, it's this, that's fine. I actually like that. If a company that I'm working with gives me some stats that I can work with and incorporate, I'm good with that because people want to know that stuff. But if it's, hey, we'd like to send you something, please make positive review or whatever. No, that's not how it works. For me, it's, yeah, if you want to send me something, that's perfectly fine, but I'm going to say whatever I want to say about it, good, bad, indifferent. And if it totally sucks, I'm going to say that too, or I'm just not going to do a review. I'm going to send it back, and I'm going to tell people, hey, it didn't work out. You guys still haven't seen the Diamondback guns on the channel. I've been dropping that hint for a month now. There's a reason why, guys, and I can't justify doing that. One of them hasn't worked. So I will eventually tell that story, and I've told them I'm going to tell that story. That's just, people want to know. And those were guns that were sent to me to review. But again, that's the commitment to make. But there were a couple of people that made really good points about this. Pistol Pete was saying, don't know why everyone is worked up about this lately. Nothing has changed on YouTube. And I think to a degree that's true. I think we're seeing more marketing now than before because people go to YouTube for everything, and it's not just guns, it's everything. It's makeup, it's cars, it's food products, it's all sorts of things. And so people are going for so much more information, and companies have caught on to that and said, okay, this is an avenue for us to get awareness, and not just in the ads before the channel starts, but also on the channel itself, because people have developed a relationship with whoever's on YouTube to whatever degree. They like the person for whatever reason or like what they do. Here's a product, put that in front of people. And as long as you're honest and you're forthright, I mean, a couple of other people were saying, Big Al was saying, don't trust paid ads for products. I like looking at the gun ad on, but I don't trust paid guys. I totally understand that. Range Randy is saying, if you have a vendor send you something for free to evaluate, or they pay you, you just have to be upfront and say so. I have a thought about that. And Ferdinand Montes was saying free content needs a vehicle to monetize to keep providing content. That's a very smart thing to say, and I think a lot of people forget that. What we do is free content.
Yeah.
And to be able to justify that a little bit, and I use justify loosely, I guess, here. To justify that, we need more content. I mean, we need to have more material as long as it's good quality material. And by that, I mean good quality products. If it's a piece of junk, you don't do it. But if it's a worthy something that you think people can maybe get some mileage out of and have some fun with, perhaps it's worth time.
Yeah, and I mean, I've done a lot of follow-up videos. Like on the $30 gun belt. Hell, I did a 1.5-year follow-up on those two belts. And I wore them a ton. And I mean, I do stuff like that, even on like magazine extensions. Matter of fact, I've got one coming up that has failed. So I'll be talking about that. And, sometimes it takes a long time of testing something for it to eventually fail too. So, and my failure might, someone else might not have that failure. So, I mean, you can get situations like that. Now, when we're talking about guns, like a box opening or something, it's like, hey, I've watched a bunch of reviews on this. I put my hands on it. I played with the trigger. I like this gun. I'm going to try it out. That's just kind of like a box opening / I mean, it's not, unless people are just sending you guns for free to keep. That's a whole different ballgame. Give an honest opinion on it. You might like it. You might not. You might like some things about it. You might dislike other things about it. Just be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, your name is all you have. Truthfully, you don't have anything else but your name. When you die, your name's going to be on the headstone. That's it. So, they're not going to bury you in your house. Hopefully,
right.
Unless you're on an episode of Hoarders or something, maybe they will.
Right. Well, and eventually people are going to catch on to you. They're going to start to be like, oh, you know what? All this person ever does is positive and everything works and everything is perfect and rainbows and puppy dog farts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And that's just, it's not realistic, right? That's not real life.
Yeah. No, Stephen, I bought like 90% of those hats, 95% of those hats, matter of fact. So, but let's see here. Oh, sword fighting in the dark. We don't want to go there. Let's see here. There was a question. Let's see here. There was a question. I can't remember who said it. It was a minute ago. Do you feel, and this was his question, summing it up, do you feel that a shield with 7 or 8 rounds is enough, or should you have a compact with 15 rounds?
I had a debate with somebody in the comments starting yesterday and ending today. I mean, thankfully, we both ended laughing and being cool because I thought it was going to get ugly for a while. It was about the regular shield against the 43X. Okay. Shield 7 and 8 rounds, 43X 10 rounds, right? And he was saying more rounds is better no matter what. And I tried to be thought provoking. I said, well, what if you shoot the other one better? And in that video, I specifically say that I shoot the shield better. I just do. And he said, doesn't matter. The other one has more rounds. And I said, you mean to tell me that you would opt for a couple more rounds over the one that you are more proficient with and comfortable with and confident and competent with? And he was like, yeah, that's, it's a no brainer. And he started to kind of go down the silly road, your opinion's ridiculous and all that kind of stuff. And I say, study the statistics, first of all, of shootings, right? We've talked about that before. And the amount of rounds that typically are involved. I mean, it's exceptionally low, right? But then also, I mean, just the concept to me, I would rather be with a firearm that I'm proficient with and comfortable with and all of those types of things, more so than just somebody saying, here, this has more rounds, use this instead. And maybe I've not used it or not very proficient with it. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know, but I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, they have this thing that's called a mag pouch or a mag carrier. So you could carry, 7 or 8 rounds. And if that's the gun that you shoot really great, carry an extra mag with you or carry it in your pocket or, whatever works for you. But and I'll just say this, I travel all over the place, 5 states. So there's some areas that I go into and I wouldn't feel real comfortable about carrying a single stack as my only pistol. Matter of fact, there's a lot of areas. Because it's like, and I've pulled up to a stoplight, and there hasn't just been like one guy there. There's been multiple guys, not trying to break in, but you know what I mean. There's groups of people on corners. So in that situation, if something were to break out, the single stack might not be the best option. Now, granted, I could carry a mag, an extended mag, or something on my side to help with that, but you know, I think it's, you know, you can say being aware of your surroundings. However, sometimes you don't know. So I would just say carry and, you know, what you feel comfortable with. I mean, you know your situation better than we do. But is more ammo a bad thing? No. So.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't think it's a bad thing. But I think the core of that conversation, however, was a little bit different, and it was basically,
yeah,
no matter what, I'm taking more rounds than proficiency, and in that regard, I think that's wrong. And most experts that I've studied or spoken with, and that's very few, by the way, but or at least studied, have gone down that path to a proficiency of, you know, being competent with the gun and confident and accurate in practice and all of those things that go into making something become one with the gun, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think that is exceptionally important. Now, Dennis Jones was saying carry a spare mag. You can throw the empty mag at the bad guy, so it counts as one extra projectile. So see, then all of a sudden you have 9 rounds in the shield, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and you could put an eye out with that empty mag too. So, you know, if you hit them right with it. But, and there was, you know, I think it was Kenneth that had a comment, you know, what about a backup gun? So have you ever personally carried 2 guns?
No, never once. Not a single time.
I have, you know, a long time ago, I used to carry a 380 in my boot. I had a little boot pocket in my boot, and I carried a 380 there. And then I have a left-handed outside waistband shield holster, and it's on the left hand, and I've carried my shield there. And then I carried my P09 inside waistband, and it is the +2, so it was 22 rounds. But, you know, because this particular area is known for being a really, really bad area. I mean, put it this way, I've driven down the road before through this particular area and heard gunshots. That's how bad this area is. And I won't say where it is because it, you know, I don't know if somebody might live there or live near it, but so I don't really carry the left-handed or the backup pistol as much. I carry backup mags. Even when I carry a 22 round mag or 22 rounds in the gun, I carry a backup mag because, you know, sometimes mags can fail. You know, that loaded mag in the gun could fail. So,
right.
You know, but the guys that are going to be carrying a, you know, ED or, you know, like a SHTF pack on their back when they're driving through, you know, literally right there, that's a little extreme, but I just say be prepared for kind of worst case scenario.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And Captain Shark was saying, I don't live in a combat zone, so I'm comfortable in my day-to-day with an 8+1 with an easy carried second mag if I feel the need, which I think is a great point, a great way to look at it. If I'm heading to a higher threat potential, I'll bring a larger pistol. I mean, simple formula. I like that. I think that's good.
And that's what I'm saying. You know, plan accordingly. I mean, you know, that's what it should be. Let's see here.
Bald and Curious is saying, if you need to carry a backup gun, you should move. I can hear him saying that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and you know, you even look at it this way. You know, if something like, since I'm in hotels, you know, let's just bring that for an example. If something was to go crazy in a hotel, you know, and say you had a shield or something like that. Not, you know, I'm just saying what if, you know, we can all say what if, but, you know, you have a shield and something were to go crazy in a hotel or something like that, and there were multiple people, you know, robbing the hotel or banging in doors or whatever, you know, sometimes it's good to have a little extra backup if need be.
Yeah, and I get that. And REB is saying, if that guy was saying that rounds are the most important thing, then logic states he should be carrying a gun that holds at least 19 rounds. That's very well said. I mean, we were arguing about a shield versus a Glock 43X. At the end of the day, there's a lot of difference between the two.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. And hell, you could get, you know, that same shield, you could just put a +2 extension on it, and you have the same capacity.
Right.
So, whatever. to each their own. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's whatever you feel comfortable with, and don't let anyone tell you what to do or what to carry. It's ultimately up to you.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's funny. Keith is saying you could pass a gun to someone else if you have two guns. And that
yeah.
is a very good point.
Yeah, and I actually had a video on that a long time ago. I was traveling with people, we were actually traveling together, and they didn't have a gun. So that's the thing that I was, even stating with a backup gun. I could give them a gun, they could help, if need be. You can't just really hand them an empty, a loaded mag and say, hey, do something with this, so.
Right.
But I think, when you're dealing with SHTF and stuff like that, or if you have a dedicated truck gun, that's where a truck gun could come into play. I just won't leave a loaded firearm in a truck overnight, just with the traveling. People break into cars all the time. Now, granted, it still would be in a safe, and it could take a while for that person. But hell, nowadays, they're not even breaking into cars. They're just grabbing them with tow trucks and taking the cars away. So,
yeah,
they don't need to bust the window. They take the whole damn thing. So. Okay, Dennis Jones says he has two hands, so he needs two backups. There you go. That'd work.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Matt asked a question earlier. I don't know where it went, but he said, "What did I put in my story on Instagram?" And if you saw it, it is an SRT limo, and it's for the Cannonball Run that's going to be coming up. So. It's pretty awesome. It's a super stretched SRT Charger, and it's pretty cool.
Nice.
So I got to climb around in it today and do an engine check on it and stuff, and it's pretty awesome.
That's cool.
So, and that thing is long. It's like a super stretched limo. I was like, golly, y'all spend a ton of money on this thing. Yes, and a backup with an axe and a machete would be awesome too.
Yeah, well, and Keith is saying then you have two people confronting the threat. I mean, yeah, there is definitely logic in that. That is true. And somebody just made a point. I'm so Revolver, I think, just made a point a second ago. He said you don't necessarily have to live in a bad neighborhood, and that is also true. And sometimes we do get a little bit laxed. I mean, I live in a pretty decent neighborhood, thankfully, knock on wood. But anything can happen anywhere. That is very true. And sometimes I get a little bit lazy sometimes, because. I'm surrounded with, generally speaking, pretty peaceful people, and everybody's relatively honest and whatever else. I mean, it's a pretty good neighborhood, not a wealthy neighborhood, just a nice neighborhood, whatever. But it doesn't matter. I mean, anything can happen at any time to anyone, anywhere. So it's good to be reminded of that.
Yeah, and I've always said this too. Riffraff usually doesn't steal from direct riffraff because sometimes they don't have anything.
That's true.
Riffraff comes to the nicer areas where there might be nicer things to steal. So that's kind of a way to look at it too.
Right.
What defensive rounds do you two carry? From Terry Grossman. What is your choice of ammo for defensive round?
I'll be honest with you. I kind of go back and forth a little bit. In my shield right now is Fort Scott Munitions, 115 grain ammo. I've had good luck with that. I've had good luck with their ammo over time. And I think it does fine. It tumbles upon impact, don't you know?
There you go.
But then I've also done what is it? HSTs, SHTs. Got that? And that's been fine. I've tried SIG ammo. I mean, I kind of ping pong around a little bit. I did Hornet A for a long time. Critical defense. I've gotten away from that because I have had issues with that polymer tip. Depending on the feed ramp and the gun, sometimes can get hung up. It's pretty rare, but it can happen. So. But otherwise, I kind of ping pong around a little bit.
Yeah, I've been using HST forever, and I've had really good luck with it. Not that I've actually had to use it on someone, but I have shot frozen pig heads with it before. That was actually before I was even doing YouTube. We got them from the butcher and went out and shot them, and it was pretty devastating what it did. And I use 124 grain. I don't know if you said the grain, but I prefer 124. I figured it's not the lightest, so it's not 115, and it's not the slowest, so it's kind of in the middle, and that's what I choose. But I've kind of been diehard with that forever. I've had really good luck with it now and again, and I talked about this on chats before. I think I even did a video way back when. On my FNS, I loaded up a bunch of the Hornady, with the polymer tip. Now, this was their old formula, supposedly they told me. And I have a ton of FNS mags. I loaded them all up, and I mean, I was just blasting. So the gun was super hot, the feed ramp was hot, everything was hot, and I was shooting it, and all of a sudden it wouldn't go. I was getting click, 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 and a click, and then I had to rack it and click, and I'm like, what the hell? So I dropped the mag, and it had actually had melted a big wad of that polymer tip on the feed ramp, so nothing would feed up in it. It was just jamming and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and so I quit using it. And I called them and let them know, and they emailed me back and forth, and they said that they were redoing the polymer blend, and supposedly that was the old stuff, and their new stuff they say won't do that. But that was probably 6 mags, full mags, 17 round mags in a row of running just that. And ever since that, I know they might have changed it, but I've never gone back to that ammo. It's just a personal thing. So it might work great, but I've just never revisited it.
Right.
So,
it's funny how many people like HSTs. That's pretty popular around.
Yeah. And I just watched a video, and it is actually a tremendous video that was done by Lucky Gunner. And he goes in and actually talks to, Federal, the makers of HST and stuff. And I mean, the science they have behind it. And if you really watch it, the descriptions, I mean, the way that they break it down, and what they do is they characterize it between the 9, the 40, and the 45, saying, like 45 is the ultimate stopper. We've all heard that. One shot of 45 will kill everybody. But what they do is they break it down, and they can engineer their ammo to where a 9 basically has the same as a 45. I mean, they're basing it on HST and stuff, but it is a very, very well done video. It's probably one of the best ones I've ever seen. And it's fairly new. I think it just came out like a week or so ago, and it was a really, really awesome video.
Nice. That's cool.
So, I mean, it's just showing that is a true exact science, how they're making these things to perfectly expand the whole works. So,
yeah. We did have a couple questions pop up, if you don't mind.
Yep.
I carry my revolver in single action. Do you think the infighting in the gun community is helping us or hurting us? We already got problems from the politicians.
That's actually a great question. I've kind of wondered that too. I know that, people have beef with NRA and, GOA and, I mean, not beef with them, but of course, the whole bump stock thing and stuff like that. And, I've kind of thought about the same thing, because ultimately it's like we're all in the same community, 2A and everything. And and I'm not saying the NRA does great things. Don't get me wrong. They don't. But, to really start saying do away with that and do away with this person, everybody, having more people in our community can be a good thing if it's being ran right and stuff like that. We all know that. But, for one channel to be calling out another channel, I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes it kind of goes back to maybe like when you're in high school and stuff and you had the little cliques, I think you got to be careful with what you're doing there, because more people on our side is always a great thing. Less people on our side can be a bad thing, and that does, when they see a lot of arguing in the 2A community, the anti-gun people are going to be like, look, they can't even figure out what they're doing. So yeah, we need to go after guns and we need to do this and do that. I mean, I think there needs to come to some sort of mutual understanding that we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. It might not be the exact same way, but at least we have the same end goal.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I mean, I think infighting's bad no matter what. And I think every group has infighting to one degree or another. People are going to disagree about subtopics within the, overarching umbrella, whatever it is. But I think infighting's bad, because then, you get people that get divided. So you have this one concept, and then you have little groups, little niches of people, and it's hard to get everybody on the same page with things. So I think infighting's bad, personally.
And Mateo is saying not if they are a detriment, and I mean, trust me, I don't agree with certain groups and with what they're. I mean, there should be no infringement. Period. End of story. Done. That's the way everybody should be. it shouldn't be like if you're a hunter, we're on your side. It should be if period, no infringement. But some people don't look at it that way, and
Right, right. What
yeah,
Mateo's saying, infighting isn't a bad thing until it takes away from the primary goal. Yeah, if you're trying to work out issues within again, I guess the overarching theme, I totally get that, and I'm okay with that. But when it goes beyond that, and all of a sudden you have people that are butting heads and not able to agree with each other within the group, that to me, that's when it becomes more of an issue, because then you can't get everybody to line up and face the same way all of a sudden. To me, it becomes a bigger issue, and we see that sometimes. So yes, I do agree with that. But I think sometimes we let it snowball a little bit too much.
yeah, and some we've probably all seen some of these channels. Some of them do them to I guess add shock value, or they're trying to and I know, trust me, I know, and I'm trying to I know a lot of people have been on the NRA, and trust me, I'm not with the NRA anymore, but it's like some of the videos I can see people doing them for the shock factor, like I'm calling out the NRA and da 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 da. NRA doesn't give two shits about you. I hate to say that, but they don't. Shock value, there's other ways to do it. Go to marches, go to, email, do this, do that. I don't know. I just think the shock value videos are just, I don't even watch them. They're just, because they're just going to stir up the same stuff and say 99% of the same stuff that we've all said.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. That makes sense.
All right. So let's get back on this. Okay. Hurt has a great question. Which ammo do you all stockpile? Is it cheap hollow, or is it hollow points, or is it full metal jacket? What do you stockpile the most of?
Oh, well, it's mostly range ammo. I mean, I usually have 2,000 to 3,000 rounds of range ammo on hand, and then somewhere around 300 or 400 rounds of self-defense ammo, which is probably too much. Admittedly, I've kind of amassed a little bit over time, and I don't spend it like I should. I mean, I cycle through periodically, but probably not as much as I should. However, ammo lasts a lot longer than people give it credit for. It can last decades and decades and decades. I'm not saying you should, but it can. So, but yeah, I tend to stockpile range ammo more, but I shoot at the range a lot. So I kind of need it.
Yeah. And, for myself, I'm just grabbing something here to show. For myself, I stockpile a ton of full metal jacket. I mean, it's a lot. And also, have a lot of defensive ammo. But I would say with what I have, it's probably 70%, and it's a lot, but it's probably 70% full metal jacket, because if something went crazy, I don't care if I'm popping you with a hollow point or I'm popping you with a bunch of full metal jackets. I mean, they both ultimately kind of do the same thing, and it's all about shot placement. We know that. And KS is exactly right. People are like, oh my gosh, you've got to, it only lasts for, 6 months. That's bull crap. I've got stuff that I've had for years and years and years, because I just kind of keep stocking through and try to rotate the stuff. But, getting the discus bags, and to be honest with you, every one of these discus bags, and I collect them up, they're all free. I haven't ever paid forever. I mean, you get a pack of shoes, or you buy shoes, you get a discus bag, the little ones. But these things, you can put these in and they work. I mean, I put them in, I've got, the air things, or whatever you call it, the dehumidifiers in my safe. But for the ammo cans, I stock that in there, and I've never had ammo go bad. And I've got 22 ammo that I've shot from 20 and 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It works great. And they're just in those little plastic CCI cases, so I think if you like burying them underground or something like that, or, and it's not sealed off, I think that's a different ballgame, but ammo lasts. So, and, a lot of people go, oh, how do you get so much ammo? I mean, I buy it on sale. I buy it when I don't even need it. I mean, if I'm in Walmart and grabbing some groceries or whatever, I'll go over to the ammo section and go, oh, hey, there's, 10 boxes of that. I'm going to grab that. If you grab a little at a time, you'd be surprised how much ammo you can literally stockpile up. And I shoot a lot too. So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quickly, before I let it pass, Young Gun asked a question quite some time ago on here, and he said, "Do you think your P320X carry, not the compact, is the keeper?" Right now, I like them both a lot, and I don't foresee letting either one go for the time being. I was kind of mad that I let the first X carry go, so I'm back in it now, and I feel like an idiot if I did it again. So I'm going to try and actually keep both of them. So hope that answers that question.
Okay. Well, we're getting pretty close. What do you have coming up? Anything super exciting, or any testing stuff that you have?
Just more stuff. Shield, the Shield 4-inch is coming up. I'm actually curious about the P210, the SIG P210, the American version of that. So that's actually on the radar right now. I'm curious about it. I've heard mostly good things, so I'd like to give that a try. And then a few other things coming up here and there. I mean, I've got a pile of guns I need to work through still. So there is content at least on Saturdays for the foreseeable future. Anything else? I mean, you guys know Saturday is kind of my big drop day. But Sunday I try and put something small out, like a product or something like that, or a Polymer 80, something I'm working on. I don't have anything for this Sunday right now. We'll just have to see.
Cool. Yeah, I've got some other gear that I'm working with. I'll go ahead and show this. It's actually pretty cool. It's called a gun handler, and you can check it out on Instagram. But I've got this I've been playing around with. I've got other gear that I've been testing. I've been doing the belts. Got another holster from Harry's, and it's pretty cool. And I've got something that I'm really excited to get back. And honestly, I've told them kind of my vision, but I don't know what the hell it's going to be like. And I'm going to literally have the camera on, and I'm going to do an unboxing, and I'm going to see it when y'all see it. So I told him no pictures, don't send me anything. I want it to be a surprise to me, just like it'll be a surprise to you. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice. Well, I feel bad. You guys have been awesome with the questions tonight, and I've got a pile of like 8 that we haven't gotten to. We actually really kind of have time for maybe 1 or 2.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. C. Kim asked a question. He said, "What do you think of torture tests that people do?" So, Big Johnson, what do you think of torture tests?
I think torture tests are kind of cool, just to see what the gun would handle. Realistically, in the civilian world, are we ever going to do that? Are we going to like run and jam it in mud and jam it in dirt and do all of that? No, we're not. But I think it's kind of cool to see what the gun can withstand. But I don't take those for a grain of salt. Matter of fact, and I know that he knows this because he even said it, but just for an example, like the P07, he put it through the test and it did awesome, but he had a failure, because he pulled the trigger and it didn't go off. Well, he actually forgot that it was a double action, single action. So had he pulled it again, it very well might have gone off, but he actually cleared the round. So, there's little things like that people can pick up on, but should you take them to heart? I don't. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, totally agree. I think they're phenomenal entertainment. Actually, Honest Outlaw has done a couple.
Yeah.
Hasn't done any in a while, and he and I talked about that on the phone the other night, and he was just saying they're horrifically difficult to produce. Yeah. And you run the risk of not only ruining the firearm, but potentially blowing it up and blowing your hand off too. So there's a lot that goes into that. And I would never do it. I just simply wouldn't. First of all, I like all my guns too much, even ones that carry, doesn't matter. Even if it's a tool, I like the tool and I wouldn't ruin it, but they're great for entertainment. They are strictly entertainment as far as I'm concerned. I get comments periodically about firearms that didn't do well in the mag test, who would never touch it. That, to me, that's your dude, you're missing out. Don't do that. That torture test is designed specifically to make a gun stop running. That's it. And we all cheer them on and everything, and they're entertaining, but they're not definitive scientific anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, they're just unrealistic in a civilian sense. Maybe even the military. I mean, like if guys in the military, they could get sand, dust, things like that could potentially cause a failure. But unless you live in the desert and you're just rolling around in the gunk and stuff, yeah, it could cause it to fail. And like Music Lover said, what about if you were mud wrestling with your gun on? I mean, there could potential failure there. So you just, don't mud wrestle with your gun on.
Right.
So,
well, I'm gonna save these questions because you guys have had some great questions tonight. I'm trying to catch these when I can. I've got a little document over here, so so they don't roll past and we forget. So come back next week. We'll try and revisit these. But if you have other questions, of course, keep those up as well. But yeah, we're about out of time, buddy.
And Paul, yes, I do. He's asking if I come to Central Texas. Yes, I do. I do all of Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arkansas. So yeah, I travel a lot. Yeah, Lorenz. Hello, guys. Greetings from Switzerland. That's awesome. I will actually be, Lorenz, I will be in your area not too long.
Nice. Paul, to answer your question, the Archon. There you go, buddy. Hope that helps.
There you go. All right. Well, we appreciate it so much for the family being on. It really means a lot. We appreciate the great questions. Sorry we can't get to every single one of them. We wish we could. But definitely come back for the other chats and we will get you squared away. So thank y'all so much. Thank you, KS, for joining. And we appreciate it so much. 1776 should be back next week. And we will get it on then, too.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone. Carry on.
Bye.